and welcome to today's podcast. And I'm talking to two students from Binus University. My name is Colin Mackenzie from Edinburgh and Napier University, and I'm talking with
Shabrina from Binus University.
I'm Rajendra from Binus also.
Shabrina, you've been in a number of sales competitions now. Can you tell me what your experiences were and what you learned from them?
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Sir Colin, for your question. Okay, so firstly, I would like to tell about my background first because I'm actually not a sales student and I have never actually gotten a formal session in sales before. So my experiences were basically based on the informal sessions from my lecturers, and based on my previous competitions, what I learned so far is that I learned how to negotiate, and I learned that sales is an art that we can explore, and not just selling something, but you have to understand the situation, you have to understand yourself, and not only that, you also have to understand the culture of the other party, because sales is selling with an art. I think that's it, sir.
The culture, Sabrina, is an interesting topic. What different cultures did you experience? Because you performed in the European sales competition. Did you notice any difference in the culture, do you think?
Well, I think the biggest one is from the communication barrier, and also I think it's because usually the European people, they are more direct, while as the Indonesian, we are much more highly contexted, so it's rather hard to actually balance the communication in that context.
Yeah, culture is an interesting topic. Rajendra, what were your experiences of being involved in the sales competitions?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Well, compared to Shabrina, this is actually my first time doing a sales competition, so I've been nervous the whole time. But overall, I did learn plenty of things from this sales competition. Especially, it really emphasizes about empathetic listening, I think. Because previously, before this competition, I always have this mindset of listening to reply instead of listening to understand, which is, I think, a crucial part in a sales negotiation like this. And I agree with Shabrina, even though I never have a sales meeting with a foreigner before, but I guess that in Indonesian culture particularly, we have this tendency to have a personal communication before we're jumping straight into the business negotiation. So I guess that is probably the biggest differences between the Eastern culture and the Western culture, I believe.
Can you tell me, Regina, how did you overcome your nerves? Because it is a nerve-wracking thing if you've not done it and not been very experienced at it.
Well, actually, I didn't really know. I didn't really expect anything when I joined the competition. I just thinking, okay, let's just finish this competition. Let's just finish this day with and just end it. That's what I'm thinking. But eventually, I just continued on proceeding into the next qualification round and everything. So I guess it really kind of boosted my confidence, because at first I never thought that I have this ability or any skills in sales. But this competition just showed me that I actually have it, but I never have the opportunity to perform it. That's what I think.
That's great. It's interesting to hear. Sabrina, what was the outcome from you from a personal perspective? You know, how did you feel after you'd performed in the competitions?
Actually, it was pretty similar with what Rajendra has mentioned earlier. It was pretty nerve-wracking because even though I've been to several sales competitions, but most of it are virtual, so I don't know the experience of the real ones because I've only been to one face-to-face sales competition, and also other than the fact that it was nerve-wracking, but it's still fun. Like, it's still thrilling but nerve-wracking.
Have either of you managed to employ the skills like empathic listening or sort of convincing people elsewhere in your lives so far, or is it too early to say yet? Any examples of where it might happen? Rajendra, you've put your mouth up to the microphone. You're going to tell me something, aren't you?
Yeah, I did because when I was in my bachelor degree, I have this kind of a part-time job where I was in the sales position. I was selling yearbooks to high schoolers. It's actually a kind of a big, not really big, just a moderate business here in Indonesia. Even though I never landed a sales before, but I have the experiences of interacting with a B2B businesses. So I think that is where the base where I could the base of my sales, the whole thing.
Yeah, you've used those skills, which is really interesting. Shabrina, have you had a chance to use any of your skills yet? Your sales skills that you've learned elsewhere outside of a competition?
Well, actually, I think if the context is talking about the sales skills, I would like to say about negotiation, but I don't really have the opportunity to implement it in real life yet, because if I do have, I would like to implement it in, negotiating at the market to get the best bargain.
Shabrina, what advice would you give a student who's thinking about entering a sales competition?
Okay, sir, thank you for the question. I think, well, because as I've mentioned earlier, my background was not really sales, so I didn't have a formal education in that. But my advice for you is that don't be afraid, because you need to try something if even you have never tried it before, because you never know if you could ended up loving it or even want to dive into it. And my other advice is that do your research, because if, for example, you have a gap in knowledge, don't be afraid that, oh my God, my knowledge is very shallow compared to someone who probably have joined a formal sales education before. So that is why you need to do your homework, do your research. Like, for example, watch from YouTube, because there are tons of videos that you could watch from, and also you could ask your lecturers or someone that you think would have the expertise in it to teach you the practicals of sales and something like the tips and tricks in handling the objections or things that maybe you've never actually have thought before, but after the session you will know that you can add or gain knowledge in something. So I think those are the two advice. And my other advice is to have a support system, because like, for example, in a sales competition, sometimes after the sales meeting, for example, after the round one, sometimes you can feel like you didn't do your best, but don't worry, with your support system, you can regain your confidence back and bounce back and do your best. I think that's it.
That's great. Rajendra, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, thank you. I pretty much agree with Shabrina, especially the preparation part, because in any negotiation or in any kind of sales meeting, you really need to have a comprehensive preparation. I'm really, one of my methods is definitely watching YouTube videos, because as we know, the negotiation is a practical ability. And by watching several examples from YouTube, you could know what things you're going to say, and you could even imitate it. It's compared to, I guess, reading is not really working for me in terms of abilities such as these. And I guess before that is a pre-competition. 5 minutes before competition, I would just give you an advice to do not overthink it. I think just being there, just take your time and just enjoy it. I think that's a really key concept. Because if you burden your shoulders with you have to win this, you have to perform well, it's just going to become more nerve-wracking for you. But instead, if you're thinking that this is going to be a whole new experience for you, and you're going to have a blast of experience. I think it's going to work out well.
I'd like to thank both of you for those great pieces of advice. I particularly like the fact that you said you had to do research, and I like that you said you have to do listening. And I think the fact is that you've watched YouTube videos is helpful because it's a form of seeing how other people actually put the theory into practice. So well done for your contributions today, and well done for your contributions to the competition. So thank you very much.